So West Brom seem to be staring relegation in the face. There's been no new manager bounce since Alan Pardew arrived, and in fact the Baggies have slumped at the bottom of the table since Tony Pulis got the sack. West Brom have been a steady Premier League team for years now, but previously had a reputation as a yo-yo team, flipping and flapping between the Premier League and the Championship, either not good enough for one or too good for the other. Their last Championship game came in May 2010, a 1-1 draw with Barnsley, in a season where Roberto Di Matteo led the Baggies to promotion, finishing second behind runaway winners Newcastle United. Let's take a look at who started for West Brom in their last Championship game and where they are now. In goal was Scott Carson. The shot stopper's reputation was in tatters at this point in time, coming just a few years after his international horror show against Croatia that probably still gives him nightmares. Carson had to get away from England in 2011, joining Bursaspor in Turkey where he spent 2 seasons. In 2013, Carson returned to Championship football and signed for Wigan, and he's now competing for promotion to the Premier League once again with Derby County, where Gary Rowett thinks he's been good enough to get back in the England squad. I'll give you one reason why he shouldn't, Gary. At right back was Stephen Reid. Born in Kingston upon Thames with 23 Irish caps to his name, Stephen Reid spent 4 full seasons with West Brom, having initially joined on loan towards the end of their promotion-winning campaign. Reid's final club would be Burnley, where he would suffer relegation under his former teammate Sean Dyche, making just 7 league appearances before retiring at the end of the season. The fullback has since moved into coaching, first with Reading and now at Crystal Palace, where you can see him patrolling the Selhurst Park touchline, making sure Roy Hodgson doesn't wander off in his old age. Centre-back was Jonas Olsson. The Swedish defender is one of those players that seemed to look old ever since he started playing football, but also was actually only 27 during West Brom's last Championship campaign, despite having the face of a grizzled veteran. Olsson would spend almost a decade with the Baggies and make more than 200 appearances for the club, finally being released in March 2017. The long-haired centre-half is still playing at the age of 34, captaining Djurgårdens back in his native Sweden. He was alongside Gabriel Tamas. The Romanian's career began in the late 90s with FC Brasov, and his time at West Brom was probably the longest he's ever spent at just one club, racking up a reputation as a bit of a European journeyman. Tamas moved to the Hawthorns in 2010 on loan from Auxerre, and just weeks after the season ended, he secured a permanent move to the Midlands. Tamas's contract would come to an end by mutual consent in 2013, and he's since played for CFR Cluj, Doncaster, Watford, Steaua Bucharest twice, Cardiff City, and now Hapoel Haifa at the age of 34. However, by the time this video goes out, he might have moved again. Left back was Marek Cech. No relation to Petr, Marek would join West Brom in 2008 from Porto for £1.4 million, but was initially unable to dislodge the hardest man around, Paul Robinson, at left back. Cech's role would increase once Di Matteo took over, but in August 2011 he would leave to join Trabzonspor, just months after extending his contract. Cech would also play for Bologna and Boavista before ending his career at Como in 2016, who are currently in Serie D in Italy. Fun fact, Cech scored 5 goals for Slovakia, and 4 of them came against San Marino, bagging 2 braces. On the right of midfield was Robert Corrin. The blasts from the past keep on coming, as Robert Corrin rocks up in midfield, with the draw with Barnsley being Corrin's final appearance in a Baggies shirt. After 3 years that included 2 promotions and a relegation, Corrin would leave the Hawthorns but decided to stay on English shores, joining Hull City, who had just been relegated to the Championship, so maybe the Slovenian winger just loved the thrill of the second tier. Corrin would spend 4 years with the Tigers, joining Melbourne City in 2014, and at 37 years old, he's back at his first club, Dravograd, maybe running a football school or something. It's hard to understand a Slovenian website for a 3rd division club. In the middle was Yusuf Malumbu. The midfielder would really begin to make his name at West Brom in the Championship and would win the club's and fans' Player of the Year award once they returned to the Premier League. Malumbu would be with West Brom for 6.5 years and play more than 200 times, leaving on a free in 2015 to join Norwich, spending 2 years at Carrow Road that included 1 relegation and a grand total of 20 league appearances. Malumbu was just 31 years old and is now with Kilmarnock in the Scottish Premiership. He was alongside Graham Dorrans. The Scot was West Brom's goal scorer on the final day, and his performances throughout the promotion-winning campaign earned him the Fans Player of the Year award, as well as various new suitors, with multiple Premier League clubs interested in signing the midfielder. Dorrans stayed with the Baggies though, remaining there until February 2015, where he joined Norwich on loan and then permanently, failing to really hit the heights in the Premier League that he had done in the Championship. In 2017, Dorrans would head back to Scotland, with Rangers paying a reported £1.3 million for the midfielder, where sadly he struggled a lot with injuries. On the left flank was Chris Brunt. Still a Baggie in 2018, Chris Brunt has stayed true to the club, spending more than a decade in navy and white, making more than 300 appearances for the club and scoring some truly stunning goals with that hammer of the left foot he possesses. Now aged 33, Brunt might not have too many years left in him at the top, but neither did West Brom by the looks of things. Up front was Roman Bednar. With the number 9 shirt on his back, Roman Bednar was not a prolific goal scorer, with his days in the Championship with West Brom being his most successful, scoring 13 times under Roberto Di Matteo, then failing to find the net on his return to the Premier League, despite finding the net 6 times in his last foray with the top flight. Instead, Bednar would be shipped out on loan to Leicester and then a Turkish team whose name looks like one I could really trip up on. Bednar joined Blackpool in 2012, going on to play for Sivasspor, Sparta Prague and Pribram before retiring in 2016. And finally we've got Simon Cox. A veteran of the Football League, Simon Cox will always be one of those players who knew his way around the Football League, but the Championship was him at his limit. The striker's best days were in League One with Swindon, where his performances got him a move to West Brom, where Cox scored 9 Championship goals in his first season as the Baggies won promotion. In the Premier League though, Cox would only score once, leaving for Nottingham Forest in 2012. Cox would go on to play in the second tier for Reading and Bristol City, before joining Southend in 2016, where he's much more at home, scoring goals in League One. However, at least the 30-year-old will be much more reliable than Daniel Sturridge is right now. So that's West Brom's last Championship 11. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching and don't forget to like, share and subscribe.